Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of We Believe to You. I'm Eric.
And I'm Michelle. And I wanted to tell you something, Eric, that happened to me like 2 nights ago. It was pretty creepy, and I don't know what it is or what it was, but we have this big window on the left side of our bed, I guess. And I was laying in bed waiting for Carlos, and I looked over at the window and I see this shadow that was like covering like the bottom bright like area of the window, but it looked like it was outside. And I've seen like when people walk by, like there's a specific light that kind of shines on our window, and so when people walk by, like I can see their shadow and I know it's a person, right? But this was different. It was too close to our window for it to be someone walking by, like when someone's walking their dog.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like in the shape of a human either. It was literally just like this like hump. And maybe about 3.5 to 4 feet tall. Like it was pretty short. Like it only came up like halfway up the window. And I was just staring at it like, okay, well, if it's a person, it's going to move and they're going to just move on. And like nothing was happening. And I just kept staring. And like I said, it was too close for it to be a human, or sorry, somebody walking by.
Yeah.
And I finally, like, I probably stared at it for a solid like minute and it wasn't doing anything. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just imagining it, or I don't know, it's nothing. So, but I was like too freaked out at that point that I, like a child, picked the covers up over my face and like waited for Carlos to get out of the restroom. And then once he came out, I felt safe again because I'm like 5, and I pulled the covers down. I pulled the covers down thinking like, well, the shadow's still going to be there because it has to just be something outside. And the shadow was fucking gone. There is no shadow anymore. And it's like, we didn't turn off any lights, like nothing. I can't, man, I probably should have just taken a picture of it. I don't know what, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know why the hell I didn't.
You fucked up.
I did. I really should have taken a picture of it. But it creeped me the hell out. I wonder if I can recreate it on Photoshop at least, just to kind of give you guys an idea of like what I saw. And again, it wasn't like in the form of a human or anything. It was like maybe.
Or no.
Or no.
Do y'all have like forested area by your house?
No, I mean, there's
Or by your apartment?
Kind of. Like we're next to the community college campus and there's like trees behind that. But like we don't have like a whole lot of trees like next to us. I don't know. It was weird.
I probably would have like gotten my flashlight right on my phone, because I probably wouldn't have recorded it or taken a picture either. But I would have gotten like the flashlight on my phone and just like yelled and just like went running to the window like with the flashlight to see what it was. Like, so I kind of like get that bravery from the screams. Like,
yeah,
but it would probably be like screams like, ah!
Probably. That's what I was feeling on the inside. That's for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it was weird, and I wasn't gonna tell Carlos, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna tell him. He's like, yeah, it was nothing. I'm like, of course, Mr. Skeptic over here. It's like, just humor me for the love of God, please.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was like, again, it was weird. It's not like it felt like some sort of demonic entity and like there's negativity. Like it was none of that. It was just something happening that, again, shouldn't have happened. And I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I mean, I was still scared because, again, I was a child and covered my face with the covers, but hid under the covers. But yeah, it was kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, I had a weird dream last night, but I mean, it wasn't anything like crazy. But now I feel like I want to ask Grandma about it because, so, I mean, I think we've said before, we have family in Matamoros, and I don't know why in the dream I was talking to one of Dad's cousins. Actually, Luce Carmen's, which goes back like the one that we the one that sent us in the listener stories. Her brother, actually, I was in the dream. I was talking to him, and like he was like telling me, and I want to say him, Pepe, which is their other brother, and I don't know how much English she speaks, but I want to say he knows a little bit, and Pepe speaks a little bit more fluently. I believe. Anyway, so I was talking to him, and he said that he had been listening to the podcast, and I was like, oh, cool, stuff like that. And he goes, I actually have been having experiences. And I was like, well, actually, no. He goes, his
This is a
daughter.
dream, right?
It's a dream. It's a dream.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But again, I'm curious, and I'm kind of like, I want to see if how true it is. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I feel weird just going, hey, have you been experiencing stuff in your house? Or, you know,
Yeah.
but no, actually, it wasn't him in the dream. It was his daughter.
Mhm.
But that she's been seeing an apparition or an entity, And I was like, oh, well, who was it or what is it? And he goes, well, it's kind of weird because I asked her, like, what have you been seeing? And she said, it's a little girl. I was like, well, fuck that shit. And then
Yeah.
she goes, but the little girl has kind of like not big ears, but they stick out a little bit. And I guess the little girl described the face. And he goes, the weird thing is she's describing your grandmother's sister, or like our
Great
like
aunt.
his mom. No, it would be his mom, and grandma's his aunt. So they're I guess his aunt, but that she had died as a little girl. And he goes, and he shows me the picture, and like what the little girl described was exactly what was on the picture. And I mean, to be honest, the picture looked kind of creepy, but again, it could have just been my dream, like making it creepy. But she was like, but he was like, yeah, and stuff has been happening in the house, and she's been seeing this little girl, and it's weird. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just a very weird thing that's been happening, and I thought it'd be interesting for your podcast. And I was like, yeah, man, like let's set up an interview and get the show on the road. And then I woke up and I was like, damn it. So, I mean, it was fake. I mean, not fake, but it was a dream.
Yeah.
So, but it kind of made me like wonder. Exactly. I kind of like want to ask grandma, hey, did you ever have a sister that, didn't make it? But
oh my God, if that like ends up being a thing, and like, how did you know? It's gonna,
I guess awesome. I'll ask her, and I'll let you guys know in the next episode.
Please do. And also ask Pepe if he's been having experiences.
Well, no, it would be Pedro Pablo was the one that I talked to. Yeah, but that's the thing is like I don't actually talk to him a lot in person, or like I haven't talked to him in forever, weird. So it'd be kind of weird. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Well, at least to find out if Grandma actually has a sister that we've just never known about.
Yeah, I think that alone would be like, okay, I think the rest of it there might be something to it if that was actually the case.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure. Today we have a friend of mine. It's actually another Missio Mafia member. And as you know, Let the episode 1, we met because we were friends of the band or group Missio. And I met Steven here also just being a fan. So Steven, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm Steven, and I originally was from Florida, so all these events that are going to be taking place in my story are actually from when I was down in Florida. I'm actually up in Maine right now. Yeah, I'm a fan of Missio, like Michelle said here, and we connected through their group. So, and then they started this podcast, and so it was about ghosts, and I was like, okay, I have a few stories I would like to share. So they asked if I would like to come on, and here we are.
Yeah, so super, super happy to have you on, another Missio Mafia member. But, all right, so the question that I always like to ask right off the bat is, other than who you are, is what was your very first paranormal experience that you had that you can remember?
Oh, very first one I had, probably was in so there's 3 stories I guess I can tell. One was when I was in my, and it wasn't really, I didn't see anything. It was more of a weird vibe feeling. And, like my mom, so the way I lived in a trailer down in Florida, and, basically my mom had a back room and I had the room next to it. And then my brother had the front room next to the living room. And so anytime I would go into my mom's room, it would just be this really weird vibe, like this weird feeling. And, it was just like something was back there, and I would never go back there. And it wasn't like it wasn't like I shouldn't be back there. Sort of, it's my mom's room. It's more of a something with just energy wise was off for me, and I would just never want to go back there. And it was just so weird. And one time I went back there, and it just felt like there was another person in the room. And I just would never go back in my mom's room just because it was so weird feeling. And so I would just stay out of that room.
Kind of reminds me of, the room in our house, the downstairs bedroom that we just, where our grandfather stayed, but it just had always had like this weird vibe, exactly like you're describing, someone's there.
It's like a dark vibe, but it's like the energy was off, or like as soon as you stepped into the room, your energy had changed, and it wasn't a happier feeling. It was more of a I shouldn't
oppressive.
be here feeling. And you couldn't place why, but you could feel like someone was either watching you, or it was just like, no,
didn't want you there.
Yeah.
And your mom never said anything like that? I mean, did she felt anything, or your brother?
No, they're not really. See, I'm more like, I don't know.
Sensitive to those
I pick
kinds
up
of
on
things?
vibes better than they do. They don't, and so it's like I can, like, I'm more I want to say not intuitive, but like I have more intuition. The second time if I can jump ahead and kind of short story, tell my stories. The second time I really had an encounter with a ghost was when I had this childhood friend, Cassie. First person I met when I was in that new neighborhood. And there was this little old lady, and I was friends with Cassie as a kid. And there was this little old lady named Miss Mary. I called her Miss Mary. She was a music teacher. Well, she wasn't a music teacher. She was a little old lady that had an organ in her house, and she had guitars and stuff like that. She played music. And she would try and teach me and my brother and the kids around the neighborhood how to play music. And so she had this big piano in her front room, and then her dining room, her kitchen, and then her bedroom. And so me and Cassie, Mary was in her living room watching TV, eating a TV dinner, and me and Cassie were playing around on the organ. And as we were playing around on the organ, there was this loud bang from the back of the house, and none of us were near the back of the house. And we asked Mary if she had like put something up on the shelf or something that would have fallen. And she was like, no, I don't put anything up because I can't reach it. I'm too old. You know, my joints don't really work all that well. So, so we were all just chilling up at the front, and it was just this loud bang. And all of us were just like, what had happened? Because nobody was near it. She didn't really have any animals in the house or anything like that could have knocked it over. And it wasn't really, Florida, no earthquakes or anything. So it was just really weird for something to fall.
Did you figure out like what it was that like fell, or like where the?
No.
I know you said it came from like the back of the house, but
yeah, we never
went
and checked. We didn't have the balls to go
that
check.
Makes sense. Yeah, I don't blame you guys. Yeah.
You said okay, so you said that it happened in the back of the house, but was it like? Did you say it was inside or outside of the house?
It was inside. It was
okay.
So how it went was there was the piano would be like here, and then the dining room was here, and then the kitchen was behind that, and then off to the left of the kitchen was Mary's room where she slept and stuff like that, and then she had like a closet in that room. And so it was like somewhere from Mary's room / closet area was where the sound originated from. And she said she didn't really put anything up or move anything, and there weren't any animals that we found, or any evidence of animals running around like mice or anything like that in the house. So Florida doesn't get earthquakes and stuff like that, so it was like there was no real reason as to why something would fall. And then the fact that me and Cassie both at the same time felt an energy that we were just like, this is not normal. And then the third story is the main story. What happened was I was at high school in 2008, late 2008, early 2009, before I moved up to Maine. And there's this high school that's no longer high school. They closed it down, made it a technical school. And it was, I don't know if it was early that morning, how my classes were scheduled, but I was in my math class, and my teacher was sitting there at the head of the class, teaching the classroom and stuff like that. And what happened was I was sitting there doing my work. We were all doing our classwork, and the teacher was sitting there. And it was during class period, so there was no one really in the hallway because the door basically there was two levels of the school, and so you had the bottom level, which was like the cafeteria, and then you had the upper area, which had little lockers, and it kind of wrapped around. You could see down into the cafeteria,
Mhm.
and so there was no one in the hallway. And so, as I was sitting there doing my work, I looked up by the door for whatever reason, and all I saw was this big, massive, black hooded, robed figure, and it was just standing there staring at me, and didn't do anything, just literally stood there, um, and just looked at me, and I immediately didn't know what to do, so I put my head down as fast as I could on top of the desk and just like kind of fold my hands up and like tuck my head in.
Mhm.
And the teacher looked up and he was like, "Steven, do you need to go to the nurse?" I was like, "No, I'm fine." And he's like, "You look like you just saw a ghost." And I'm like, "If you only know, dude, like if
Yeah.
you only knew."
Mhm.
And I immediately put my head down, and it wasn't like a threatening ghost or threatening thing. It was just there, like, "Hey, I'm here." And then I noticed it and noticed I noticed it, and then it went away. And then a couple weeks later, my grandma was diagnosed with ALS, and she wanted to come back to Maine and die. So I don't know if it was just a thing that was watching me to make sure that, hey, can he handle this sort of deal, or if it was a, hey, I'm warning you, your grandma's going to die, sort of situation. So that
Mhm.
was my three real paranormal experiences. That was just memories from my childhood when I was down in Florida.
What do you think that was that you saw that day? I mean, obviously a hooded figure, but what do you think it was?
So there's multiple different scenarios that people say that a hooded figure would appear. One would be like if it was a demon or if it was an evil entity, an evil spirit, just you know standing there, just hooded, trying not to show who they are, and it's in a menacing, they're going to attack sort of vibe. This is what this one gave off to me. And then there's what they call the Grigori or the Watcher Angels. And usually they are what people expect of like the Grim Reaper, except for they don't have the scythe and all the theatrics. They are hooded, robed figures. And throughout history, there have been different uh, stories, different rituals, different ideologies of these angels or entities that are usually hooded, robed figures. They usually were entities that were created in religious texts to watch over the humans. And some of them fell and became archangels and stuff like that. And then others continued to be Watcher or Grigori angels. And that's more of the vibe that I got, was it was watching over me or just standing there coming to go, hey, I'm here. I'm not going to let you see who I am, but or what I am, because it might frighten you because you're a kid. But I want you to know that you are being watched over, that I want to make sure that you are okay and that you are at peace in the moment of your life right now. And that I don't know if it was because my grandma got the ALS diagnosis, and that was a week or two after I saw this figure. And so I don't know if that was the cause of me seeing that. I don't know if it was just going, something in your life as a warning is going to happen, and this is me, checking up on you, making sure that you can handle it. I don't know if it was, or what it was, but that was my main thought. Was it didn't feel like it was going to attack or that it was an
Yeah.
evil presence. It was more of a, hey, I just want to check in on you, make sure that you're okay and that you will be able to handle this stuff, because, but they didn't really interact, 'cause they just watch over you and just go and check in on you from time to time. And most people don't see them. Um, and then some people do. And that's why, when people usually say I saw a spirit or something, it's more of like the hooded robed figure, and that's what I saw, and it really definitely freaked me out.
Yeah, it when you had first told me this story, you shared the story with me, and you said the Watchers. I had never heard of the Watchers before, but like I guess when I did, it wasn't as in like that they were angels, and I guess it was like a different. I don't. Well, that's the thing is I don't know if
If it kind of has this gray area where they kind of mix, where it's you're not sure if it's a different entity, and that's the thing with me. I didn't know of the Watchers, and over time I looked into it because I didn't know what I was looking at, and so like I looked into online. I was like, have other people seen hooded robed figures, and what could they be? What could have they meant? What in spirit, paranormal and religious texts, what would that represent? And then I found out about the Grigori and the Watcher Angels, and that's what kind of popped up. And so that's why and I mean they're not really, I wouldn't say angels either. I would say more spirits or guided spirits or something like that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I guess so. She's a psychic and a witch and all these things. And she was, I think it was like a YouTube video actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, because she has a podcast too, but I don't think it was on the podcast episode, or maybe anyway. That's besides the point. But she was talking about that they are these like higher beings, and they are called the Watchers. And she also described them as like hooded figures. And her example of like what they look like was you guys, I'm sure, have you guys watched The Fifth Element?
Yes.
I have not.
No. Okay. So then, what if you do like watch like the first 5 minutes of it? But Eric, you know those like
little robot,
like robot, yeah, those like robot creature things that have like the hood, like that's what she kind of describes them as, like almost like very like monk like they don't have any sort of like expression. They're not
They
like
don't have
like
any
you said
symbols or anything like that. It's just a plain robe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a plain robe, but they're not like, they're very stoic. Like they don't have, they don't look menacing. They don't look happy or excited. They're just stoic.
There. Yeah.
And and they're not good. They're not bad. It's just they're watching. And she in particular, like I said, I'm pretty sure it was a YouTube video that she was talking about them, was saying that they kind of just watch over the human race, and they make sure that we like, I don't want to say stay in our lane, but essentially like stay on track. And she was saying it in the sense that like people who are psychic or who can see the future, like there's certain things that they're not supposed to see, and if they start messing with, I don't know, messing with things that they shouldn't, that you just don't kind of look ahead, and you're not doing things you're not supposed to. They kind of put a stop to that. But
obviously, I'm a troublemaker then, and they're coming after me, going, "Hey, you need to cut it out."
I mean, not necessarily, because it may have been that maybe you were going to see your grandmother's future, and they stopped you from seeing that until you actually experienced it. You know what I mean? Because that's
what happened was, after I saw that, I was like, either someone's going to die, or it's a premonition, or once I saw it, I was like, something bad is going to happen. That was my feeling. And
I mean, I would have thought like Grim Reaper.
That's basically what I thought too at the time. And once we moved up here, I was just so fascinated on what I saw and what I had experienced, and I dug it, and that's when I started looking into the Watchers and stuff like that. And it was obviously where I was like, okay, something bad is going to happen, because why else would a spirit come and reveal itself to me? Because that don't happen. There has to be a reason. And then I went, okay, well, obviously, my grandma was having troubles getting upstairs and stuff like that as it was. And obviously I could piece together something was going to happen with grandma. And so I was like, obviously something bad's going to happen. And then that's when my mom and my grandpa got the diagnosis of ALS, and they decided to move up here, and then we followed after.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the other thing that I had read about the Grigori was that they were like, they were angels that were tasked to watch over the human race, and that they started falling in love with them. And then eventually they started,
having kids
having
and
yeah,
lusting over the
doing
human beings.
inappropriate things with the humans,
Yeah.
and they ended up being cast out because they weren't supposed to be doing that.
No,
So
they were supposed to be protecting and watching over and making sure that humans weren't, misbehaving and were acting as we should, and so they got.
and in some religions, they're also considered like not good presences and stuff like that. So also, fun fact: there's a race of aliens in the DC comics called the Guardians, which are basically like what you were talking about, the Watchers. Yeah.
Oh well, no, and like that's kind of like the vibe. Well, no, she was like, they're not aliens; they're just like super like enlightened beings, like
Which
not
these
necessarily.
guys, yeah, which these guys, they have like, they're telepathic. They can see the future. They have all these kinds of like
abilities.
Yeah, but they're like they're called the Guardians of the Universe, and basically they like they're the ones that start. I guess they're like the founders of the like what the Green Lantern Corps is part of, like the law enforcement of like the universe and stuff. So they basically watch the whole universe and see what's going on, and then that's how they kind of get the Green Lanterns to go out and take care of those different spots and stuff. And but they're able to see like the future and see what's going to happen, and kind of like you were saying about the Watchers, Michelle. So it was interesting that you were mentioning that.
It's all it all kind of ties in together.
And I guess a lot of times, like, comic books and stuff like that, they take from,
Greek mythology.
Yeah, exactly. Like
stuff like that.
Like in Wonder Woman, they're all like descendants of Athena and stuff like that. And, Ares comes out in DC, and I believe in Marvel, there's Loki and Thor and Odin.
Yeah.
They have the whole Greek mythology. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe the Guardians of the Universe have some word inspired by the Watchers that you're talking about. Yeah,
that could be.
Yeah, it was funny too when you had mentioned Grigori. I was like, I've heard this before, and I couldn't figure out like from where.
Yeah.
Just the name, like the word Grigori.
Yeah.
And so when I started kind of like researching, trying to look it up, it was it came out in Supernatural, the TV show, and I was like, that's how I learned my angel knowledge, is through Supernatural. Apparently, it's because they had created a Nephilim, and like the Grigori was like a whole like part of it, and it was like the same episode.
And that's what they call the kids of the Grigori, would be the Nephilims, which are basically part human, hybrid. Part angel. Yeah.
If there's anything you wanted to like promote or anything, I mean, if not, you don't have to. But if you have something.
Unfortunately, I'm not really creative or have anything like that to promote. I'm a very simple man here. But if there was one thing that I can promote, just be kind to one another, and, be nicer to one another. And, if you're kind of on the fence about spirits and whether they exist or not, which I'm assuming most of your listeners don't, they obviously do. But, don't attack someone because of whether they, what their stories are and what they say they've seen, because more than likely or not, they actually did experience what they say they have. And just have an open mind, and, in general, just be kinder to one another, because this world is filled with a bunch of negativity and a bunch of, hatred and anger and stuff like that. Just be kind, try to make each other, make the world a little bit easier place to live, because we all have to live here. So, if anything, be kind.
I like that. It's a good thing to promote. Thanks again, Stephen, for being on the show. I really, really appreciate you, one, educating me on what a Grigori was, because I had absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
And two, just sharing your stories with us. And especially, your promotion at the end, be kind to each other, because that's super important.
Be kind, don't be an asshole.
Yeah, pretty much. See, I tried to do your podcast without swearing, but, you guys were just like throwing A words here and there. So nice job, guys.
Yeah, we do it all the time.
Oh, okay.
No shame. It's all good.
We appreciate you. Like everybody we have on here, we appreciate you for coming on here and being so open with us.
I appreciate you guys giving us the time to be able to do that. It's nice to be able to vent your experiences and all that, and actually have people not criticize you or ridicule you on that. So I definitely appreciate you guys for doing this podcast and getting people's stories out there. it's definitely a good thing.
All right, guys. So those are some interesting stories that Gregory. I've heard very little or read very little about him, so I'm not an expert on them by any means. But
You said Gregory, not
Grigori,
Gregory.
sorry.
I'm just now imagining this black hooded entity called Gregory.
Hey guys, I'm Gregory.
Oh, goodness.
Spelled similarly though, isn't it? No,
Grigori. Yeah, I mean, depends on how you spell Gregory. I
the
don't know.
accent's different.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Grigori. Not, I, you know, I have very little knowledge about them, so it was interesting to see if if that's what that was. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hadn't really heard of them either. Apparently, I guess learned about them on season 10 and 15 of Supernatural. I looked it up. But I didn't really know very much about them until I kind of took a deep dive when he mentioned that that's what he thought it was. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's so much stuff out there that we don't understand. Like, who knows what it could have possibly been.
Yeah, well, I mean, guys, if you have any ideas of what you might think it is or what you think it is, let us know, because I mean, we'd be interested to hear your take on it and see what you think. And if you want to do that, if you let us know in the comments on Facebook, or if you're watching or listening to us on YouTube, leave it in the comments as well. If you want to share your stories, guys, or want to be interviewed, you can reach us through DM or email. On Instagram, we are at We Believe Do You Podcast. On Twitter, we're at WBDY Podcast. On Facebook, we are We Believe Do You with a question mark. And our email is webelievedu@gmail.com. Also, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and everywhere else that you can listen to your podcast. And don't forget to give us a 5-star on Apple Podcasts, because that really helps us out.
And I didn't know this. I don't know if you knew this. I just randomly found it while because I hate Facebook, but while scrolling through our Facebook page, we actually have a review on Facebook. Did you know that?
I think I saw somebody say something, but I didn't read it.
Where did it go? Imagine he just deleted it because he didn't like it.
No, I know he definitely didn't do that, because he's been very supportive of everything we've been putting out, for sure. I appreciate him a lot.
Shout out to Mariano.
Yeah, shout out to Mariano.
Oh, here it is. I found it. Easier to find on my phone than computer. I have 2 computers on, an iPad, and my phone. I don't know how much more technology I need, and I still couldn't find this goddamn review. All right, so Mariano Gomez, he said, gave us 5 stars, and he said, very interesting concept. Strongly recommend the podcast if you're willing to be open-minded. Keep it up, guys. Thank you, Mariano.
Thank you, Mariano. Yeah, like I said, he's been very supportive. He's literally listened to, I think, every episode. He likes all our stuff. Yeah, I appreciate him a lot. And guys, I'd like for you to do the same. Like, share, even if you guys don't want to listen. But I mean, I guess if you're hearing this, you do want to listen. Mm-hmm. But go ahead and share it on Facebook anyway, because if it's not exactly your cup of tea, it could be somebody else's cup of tea, and they might drink the whole pot.
Every time you guys share a post or retweet or anything like that, even if you're not listening, yes, that does help get the word out on us. But, if people have stories, or if someone randomly shares a story with you, mention us, because we would like to probably have them on the show so they can kind of talk to us about their story as well. Even if you don't have any stories, if you know somebody who does, who might be interested, that'd be awesome too, to have them on.
We know you're out there listening. We see you guys as soon as our posts, some of our Spotify stuff goes up. You're on that immediately. So we appreciate those 2, 3, 4 people who are on there and who believe in us. Continue sharing our stories, because we believe.
Do you?